Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio.
Good evening. Bonjour à tous. I am Savanna McGregor, Acting Grand Chief of the Algonquin Anishnabeg Nation Tribal Council. It is with open hearts that I and our leadership, Ogimakwe Monikis Première Nation à Bidibewini, Ogimakwe Adrien Jerome, Première Nation du Lac Simon, Ogima Lance Heyman, Kebawek First Nations, Ogima Regis Penaswe, Conseil Anishinaabe Kitchissakik, Chief Dylan White Duck, Kitagan-Zibi Anishinabeg, Chief Steve Matthias, Long Point First Nation, and Ogimakwe Chief June Black, Wagoshig First Nation. Welcome you to our unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin. On the eve of the first day for the Truth and Reconciliation, we are gathered here to honor survivors from every nation. You have come from far and wide. The collective pain that is felt has no boundaries. Each of our nations and communities are affected by residential schools. Miigwech survivors, for sharing your truth so our future generations will know what you've endured, to make sure this never happens again and that we never forget. There is no reconciliation without all Canadians understanding and acknowledging the systemic racism that continues. And until you rewrite history to tell the truth, there will be no full understanding of the impacts of the trauma in our nation's histories. Au Premier ministre du Québec, je veux dire que le racisme systémique existe et en nier l'existence ne le fera pas disparaître. On a longtemps nié l'existence des services envers notre peuple et nos enfants. Et pourtant, si nous sommes ici aujourd'hui, c'est qu'ils ont bel et bien été réels. Meaningful apologies must be attached to action. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission provided 94 calls to action. Allow the scanning of the church and government documents that have been requested. And please provide more support for our survivors and their families. The re-traumatization is real. It's not over, it's all over. Tonight, we stand in honor of you, survivors, and those that never made it home and never had a chance. I honor the courage, strength, bravery, and vulnerability that is before me and across the nation. This was not an easy path to get here. I am humbled. Miigwech.
Kwe kakina. Bienvenue à tous. Welcome everyone. Kani Mitch Kishigun Kinu Nidishina Kaz Kitagan Zibi Donjiban. Je suis ici aujourd'hui avec vous autres pour donner une prière. Je vais donner une prière dans ma langue, also in English, et tous inclus dans ma prière. We stand here on the ground of our ancestors, our Algonquin ancestors. We acknowledge them as we say, Nijenwen Daganag. We acknowledge the Creator and we say, Chimigwej Kishiminado. We acknowledge the medicine that Mother Earth has provided for us. And we call in the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the four directions as we ask the grandmothers and the grandfathers, Kokamisug, Ashish Mishom Sug, to be here with us, to hold us strong, to fill our hearts with kindness and love. We give thanks to the Creator. We say, Chimigwed Gishimanado Kinakego. We thank the Creator for everything that He has blessed us with. Through the tears that have been shed, through the pain that has been felt, we come together in prayer in that circle. We ask the Creator to comfort our hearts, to comfort our grieving spirit. And we must all come together in this prayer. And to you, First Nations, Inuit, Métis, Canadians, let us join together. Let us put our hearts, our spirit, our voice, and our mind as one to say that prayer for the children. The children who never made it home. And Creator, we know that you know every child by his or her original name. And Creator, we pray together, all of us who are here in this circle, and our prayers are lifted from our love. And we ask you, Creator, to tell each and every one of those children who did not make it home that we love them, we honor them. And Creator, we pray together as brothers and sisters to comfort the grieving families and the nations. And Creator, we know that through our tears are love. And we thank you, Creator. We thank you for the love that you've given us, and we say, Chimigwaj Kishimanado, Migwaj Onje Zagi Edwin. And Creator, we thank you for bringing everyone together. And in this prayer that I say for all who are here, I acknowledge the survivors. Acknowledge the survivors of residential schools. I acknowledge the families. And this is my blessing for all who are here. But Creator, together as one, brothers and sisters, Indigenous peoples and Canadians, we will continue to walk that road of healing. And I pray, Creator, I ask you for that strength, that mashkawiziwin that we need to embark on this journey, to bring forth kindness and love and respect. And we thank you for that great gift that you have blessed our people with, Creator. We say Chimigwech to our Mother the Earth, Kokomis, our Mother the Moon, Kokomis Tipikizis, our Grandfather the Sun, Mishomiskizis, and that greatest Mother of all, our Mother the Earth, Kokomis, or Jojoaki. Thank you, Creator, for hearing this prayer. And Creator, Kishiminado, Chimi, Gwej, Onje, Zagiyetewin. We thank you, Creator, for the love of bringing us together. And Creator, we ask together as brothers and sisters, as we join here with survivors, as they tell their stories, that we will listen compassionately as they passionately tell their stories. And it is a time now of healing. It is a time now to listen. It is a time now to speak the truth. It is a time now for love. It is a time now to honor the children and to remember and honor residential school survivors. Chi miigwech gishimanado, miigwech for hearing our prayer. And we thank the grandmothers and the grandfathers of those 4 directions for being here with us. Miigwej, kokamisag, miigwej, mishson sag, kibijan, oma nongum, miigwej. And to you, my brothers and sisters, family and friends, and I thank the drummers for being here, for the beautiful song that they will sing to honor the children. And to all the survivors that are here. I remember you as children, and I honor you. I honor you. I walk with you, I cry with you, I stand with you. And it is through your resilience and your strength and your love that we will all heal. And I thank you for your strength and your resilience and your power of love. Chimigwej. Standing with me is my sister Celine Thusky. She is a residential school survivor, and she is going to share her story. She will speak her language. She will share her story in in French, and she's asked me to read her story in English. And we also have other survivors here too as well. Elder Celine will speak, and I thank her for sharing her powerful story, as I will say thank you to Elder Levinia, Inuk survivor, who will share her story, as I thank Métis Elder Mr. Durocher as he will share his story. So Chimigwej for coming together and lifting our hearts, our voice together as one in prayer. Chimigwej, and know that love is so important. And I love you all. Miigwej.
No gomo mangi bisha. Danades Monsieur Trudeau, my friends. Je partage mon histoire ce soir à vous autres. Moi, je viens du lac Boréal. Je suis originaire de mon territoire. Mon nom est Celine Thusky. Je suis Anishnabeg de lac Boréal. Je suis une survivante d'une école résidentielle pour les Indiens du Québec. J'ai été amenée à l'école résidentielle de Saint-Marc de Figuerie, non loin d'Amos, en Abitibi. Pour mon histoire, il commence de 1962 jusqu'à 1970. J'avais 7 ans quand je suis partie et je suis revenue à l'âge de 16 ans. Aujourd'hui, je parle mon langage Anishinaabe, le français, l'anglais. Ma vie avant 1962, c'était un moment de tranquillité, de liberté, puis de gloire à ma culture avant. Ce n'est pas facile de partager mon histoire qui a duré longtemps dans mon cœur. Un matin de 1962, les gendarmeries royales, le prêtre, un agent de gouvernement du Canada sont venus en avant de ma maison. Il était avec une interprète, une de nos grands-mères. Ce matin-là, ils ont demandé à ma mère s'il y avait des enfants dans la maison. Ma mère a répondu qu'il y avait 2 petites filles, moi et ma petite sœur. Le prêtre a demandé à ma mère de nous réveiller et de nous faire sortir dehors. Je me souviens de m'avoir habillée rapidement. J'ai mis ma blouse verte et seulement un soulier, pas de bas. Il criait après à nous autres de nous dépêcher. Il nous a embarqués dans un gros autobus gris. Mes parents n'ont jamais donné leur autorisation pour partir. Nous ne savions pas à quelle direction qu'on avait prise. Ça n'a pas été facile le matin. Il nous a amenés pour partir de notre communauté. Qu'il y avait tellement de manque ma part à ma mère que je n'ai eu jamais le moment de dire au revoir à ma mère. Notre autobus a ramené d'autres petits Anishinabés au grand, la communauté, Lac Victoria, Lac Simon, toutes ces 3 réserves-là, on a embarqué dans le même autobus. Que je crois qu'il y avait 300 enfants, peut-être plus. Aujourd'hui, j'ai commencé une autre vie avec tout. J'ai connu des moments dans le pensionnat que j'ai été vraiment en dehors de moi-même et que je ne suis pas capable de tout, de parler ce soir, qu'il y a eu plusieurs années devant moi. La problématique, j'ai su que j'avais le mal, le problème de nourriture. Mes témoignages que j'ai vécus dans le pensionnat, que j'ai été témoin des abus sexuels, j'ai été témoin des abus physiques, de la violence, pour toutes ces petites filles-là. J'ai connu des moments de détresse, puis j'ai connu des pleurs dans la nuit. Et pourquoi que j'écoutais les pleurs? Les pleurs qui m'ont toujours porté en dedans, même aujourd'hui. J'ai eu des moments. J'étais malade dans le pensionnat. J'avais aucune aide médicalement. J'ai été toute seule, malade dans mon lit, puis malade dans mes émotions. Que mes émotions étaient rendues très, très faibles. Tous les témoignages que j'ai vus, c'est ce qu'on appelle aujourd'hui. Les enfants ils ont droit d'être protégés par leurs parents. On a droit de protéger nos enfants, nos petits-enfants, nos arrière-petits-enfants. Quand le prêtre, les sœurs ont été toujours pas compréhensifs, c'est qui les enfants Anishinaabe? On n'avait aucun droit de parler notre langage. On se faisait frapper. On se faisait tirer nos cheveux. On n'avait aucun droit de résister par les frappes. J'ai souvent dit à mon Créateur de me protéger, puis de me donner la force qu'un jour je retournerai voir mes parents. J'ai demandé à mon Créateur de sauver mon langage. J'ai demandé au Créateur de me donner toute mon énergie, toute mon identité. Ça m'appartient, mon identité. Et ça m'appartient de toute mon existence pendant toutes ces années-là. J'ai eu des bons moments avec mes petits amis. On jouait ensemble. Mais vers la soirée de coucher, c'est la tristesse totale. Dans notre dortoir, les pleurs commencent. J'étais témoin souvent une sœur qui prenait une petite fille qui avait juste 5 ans, puis qui l'amenait dans sa chambre. C'est des témoignages que je partage avec vous. Il y a eu toujours des abus pendant toutes ces années-là, en 62 jusqu'à 1970. J'ai essayé de fuir du pensionnat, mais je n'avais aucun sens de la direction pour moi de fuir vers ma maison. Je me faisais ramasser par les agents policiers. On me ramenait au pensionnat. J'ai eu beaucoup de conséquences qu'on appelle aujourd'hui les nightmares. Je n'avais aucun sens, un moment de fatigue. Un jour, je me suis dit, mon Créateur, je serai une bonne mère pour mes enfants, puis mes petits-enfants, puis mes arrière-petits-enfants. Je me suis juré que je serais un bon Jojo, que je serais une bonne maman. Je parle beaucoup mon langage à la maison, mes petits-enfants. J'ai un petit-fils qui s'appelle Celine Thusky. Lui, il est proche avec les drummers. Il est proche avec les tambours traditionnels. J'ai partagé beaucoup son histoire, mon histoire à lui, pour qu'un jour, il puisse dire que ma grand-mère a survécu à un pensionnat indien, Anishnabeg. Elle a réussi à tenir sa langue, Anishnabeg moins. Puis, cette partie-là, ça m'appartient. Mais je partage beaucoup avec les autres aînés, les autres jeunes générations de mon histoire vécue au pensionnat. Chimigwech.
I will now read Celine's story that she shared in English. My name is Celine Thusky. I am an Anishnabeg from Boyer Lake community. I was born on my ancestral traditional territory. I am a survivor of the Quebec Indian residential school system. I was taken away to residential school Saint Marc de Furey in Amos, Quebec, from the years 1962 to 1970. I was 7 years old. Today I continue to speak fluently in my language in Anishinaabe, fluently in French, and fluently in English. My life before residential school was very peaceful. In the early morning of 1962, the RCMP, the police, and the Indian agent from the Government of Canada came to my front porch. They were accompanied by a grandmother who was their interpreter. They asked my mother if she had any children inside the house. My mother responded that she had 2 little girls. The priest asked my mother to wake us up and bring us to the front porch. I remember that morning. It was very cold and foggy. My mother told us, "Wake up, Quasis, wake up, my little girl, and come to the porch." I remember that I dressed up, I put on my little green blouse with no socks. I remember putting on one of my running shoes, and then they brought me to a huge gray bus. My parents never gave authorization to bring us anywhere. We didn't know what was going on. The children were taken away from my community, all of us not knowing or understanding where we were going. I was 7 years old. They took us so fast. My own mother did not have time to hug us. I screamed from the bus to my mother, "Are you coming with us?" She said back, "No, no." They took many. There were many children, girls and boys my age, in the same situation. The bus took us in a direction we did not know. Our bus picked up the children at Grand Lac, Victoria, which is another community. I had to deal with everything. I started having stomach problems, and I had to learn how to deal with the pain on my own. I had to deal with the meals, different Canadian foods. I had to learn how to deal with witnessing the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the nightmares. I had to deal with the violence against the girls from the nuns, to deal with seeing the other girls' depression and sickness, to deal with no one there to take care of me because I was left alone. I was 7 years old. How to deal with the emotional pain. I didn't know how. How to deal with them taking away my identity and how they took away most of my language. This is a story of survivor in the Anishnabeg way, Celine Thusky, and I thank her for sharing her story. Chimigwech Celine.
Good evening. My name is Levinia Brown. Inutitut name Nokadlang. I don't expect you to pronounce that name. It means spider web. It is an honor to be here in the Agonago territory with elders and survivors. Tonight, I wish to thank our Prime Minister for inviting me to speak on the eve of the very first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And I want to acknowledge the drum that is here tonight, as well as the little shoes, teddy bears, and personal letters that were placed here to honor the children who never returned home to their families and communities. As children attending residential schools, many did not hear, "I love you." And we were made to feel that we were not good enough. Many internalized the harms that we experienced. Many witnessed their fellow classmates and family members perish at residential school. And we were left as children to process our grief alone. As one survivor, I would have never imagined we would have a day that honors survivors and remember the children who never made it home. I want to acknowledge fellow survivors. The survivor, Phyllis Webstead, who bravely shared the story of having her orange shirt taken away from her. Her story helped those who never went to those schools have a better understanding of what we experience as children. I want to recognize the survivors across the country who are sharing their truth. They are not only reliving their trauma to help others understand, but they are also speaking for those who could not. And I want to express my appreciation to the communities, businesses, and individuals who are honoring survivors on this day, especially those who are working to advance reconciliation and 94 calls to action in their own lives every day. Tomorrow is historic day. It is a recognition that this is part of Canada's legacy. But we can, as nation, change our story. To my fellow survivors, I want you to know I love you. And I pray for you, all of you. And to our country, I pray for my country. Inuktud ukalang niya na ituulok tumin. Inukatik katamanan na patakuyan namin. Nanituin na akupsi. Aksoklo si ilaw na sukataritsi. Amisyung iluakapta. Ilaw katak-tuni. Amisyung makakatakapta. Amisyung kanak-tuni takuyo makatak-tunga. Ikayok tuyo nga. Pinasukat talo gitsitaw. Ikayok tuktapsi. Nagliyapsi. Ilinnialaw si mayo tamaming. Aksualo nagliyak ka tayo ko umayo kurisuli. Amisulo ako niyapta tayo ko ilinniyak tutukakululaw si mayon. Akso nakalawak tilo ko. Kayo si miyakta. Inukati si aluta. Ayaw nang tumikalawa ka mamaan na. Ilag ka kimamayak ka. Uwiga, naglibakin. May anak sigawin. Akso ang naktumito tayo ko ano na may katik ka. Kangasla nang may. Isumagiyak ka. Tagbunga isuli ka lao. Migwits. Merci beaucoup. Koyan namin. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to begin this evening by thanking the Creator for her beautiful creation. It's important that we remember these very serious issues that are before our country as we gather here today. We're not doing a very good job in keeping her beautiful creation as clean as we possibly can. It's very, very important for us to remember that. And I thought I'd take this opportunity to express that concern that so many Aboriginal people have in this country. We need to start listening to our elders when it comes to our environment. And I'm so happy that the Prime Minister has made that one of the priorities of this government. And I want to thank him for that. Good evening. My name is Jimmy Durocher. I'm from Isla Lacrosse, Saskatchewan, a very small community, but it has a lot of history to our community. It is where Louis Riel's dad, Louis Riel Sr., was born, and he played on the shores of our community. And he moved over to the Red River shortly thereafter, and that's where he was raised and educated. And Louis Riel's sister, Sarah Riel, was also buried in the community of Isla Lacrosse. So we have a rich history, rich Métis history in our community. And I want to begin by telling you that I attended the Isla Lacrosse Residential School for 9 years. I also served in the Royal Canadian Air Force. And I would like to acknowledge, of course, the Algonquin Nation, whose territory that we're in today, as well as the elders and the fellow survivors that are here today. I want to acknowledge each and every one of you. And I also want to thank the Prime Minister for inviting me here to speak on this important occasion, which is not only historic, but so profoundly personal as well to each and every one of us. I'm an elder in my community. I'm 81 years old. And I get asked a lot. Young people come and ask me a lot, what are we going to do about those children that were discovered in those mass graves all over the country? Why did that happen? What can we do? Everybody's confused about what can we do. They never made it home, you know, and they never got a chance to listen to their kokums and their mushrooms, tell them a story, a bedtime story, which is so important for Aboriginal people, for Métis people, First Nations, and Inuit. That's what we do. It is our responsibility as elders to tell our children stories before they go to sleep. These children, these shoes, these teddy bears that are here today will never got that opportunity. And we need to get to the bottom of that. We need to get to the truth before any reconciliation can happen. And we're well on our way. We are well on our way. We need to do this together. And that is such an important thing for us to do, because we need to find the truth. That's important. And as a Métis survivor, I believe that many still do not know the full truth of the residential schools. Many still don't know. There's still a lot of questions out there. And we need to convince the government, and we need to convince the churches that they need to bring forward all that information. Many of these children that were buried there was no records of them. That is a terrible thing for us, you know, to witness. And we need to do something about that. And I believe that it will happen. I would suggest that some have limited their understanding to the 140 plus schools that were named in the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement. Limited understanding. Earlier this year, as the location of unmarked graves were identified at former residential school sites, we learned that there are more layers of this difficult truth that must become part of our understanding and in how the residential school system impacted survivors, families, and communities. I am grateful that this government for working with the Isle Cross survivors on our own settlement as well. We need to do something about the Isle Cross residential schools. We were not included in the First Nations settlement, but we are working on it, and I believe that the progress is happening, and we want to thank the government for making that happen. This is an important step in recognizing that we experience so we can move forward towards healing and reconciliation. Iksisa po kaskihtanao. Naantaw tagagwito tamahan sa tuhtamuin tayayak. Tagagwit sa mayak kami usat man to tagagwit sa higoyak sa tuhtamuin tamigoyak. Iksisa po kaskihtanao. Tan sa tuhtamak. Iwas sa butiat nigan. Tagagwi koyes spitamak kakiyawiway. The acknowledgements are critical to incorporating the truth into the nation's collective consciousness. It's very important that not just us that are here today or the survivors that are out there that are still suffering, that are still need to deal with this issue, the mental health needs that are there. not just for them, but for all Canadians to understand, so that we can fix this together as one Canada, as Canadians. That is the only way that we can get this done. It's not only acknowledges that the many harms done through the residential school system, it causes us to reflect on how we move forward. It is my hope that in 100 years from now, our future generations will identify this date as a milestone in healing the nation and bringing us closer to reconciliation. Merci kay titanawa. Bonjour, and thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Bonsoir. Let me begin by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people, who we recognize as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. Thank you, Elder Commanda, for your words, for your leadership, for your prayers, for gathering us here today in this beautiful land. Thank you, Grand Chief McGregor, for your leadership, for your strength, and for representing not just leadership, but youth as we look to the future and acknowledge the past. Merci, Aînée Céline, pour vos paroles, votre histoire déchirante. C'est pas facile de raconter, et je salue votre courage, mais c'est pas facile non plus d'entendre que c'est ça l'histoire de notre pays. À ce moment-ci, on est à cet endroit plein d'histoire pour notre pays. Nous célébrons le 1er juillet. Nous parlons d'un pays de paix, d'ouverture sur le monde, de droit. Mais nous nous devons de souvenir aussi que c'est un pays qui a fait de terribles erreurs. Elder Levinia, as you shared your words and recognized the teddy bears and the empty shoes, Nakumik, Kuyanamik, for your leadership. And thank you for that reflection that all of us need to hold these stories in our hearts, in our understanding, not just as we reflect on reconciliation, but as we reflect on this country we all grew up in, this country we live in, but mostly this country we choose to create every single day. Elder Jimmy Durocher, you reminded us that the stories we tell about ourselves, about our community, the stories we tell to our children and grandchildren as we tuck them into bed, about who they are, about where they come from, about what they might be later in life, are incredibly important. And on this day, we celebrate and mark and commemorate tomorrow, the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. We must reflect not just on those children ripped from their homes, from their communities, from their language, from their culture, from their moms and dads, who didn't get to hear the stories of who they were or of what they might be. We must also take tomorrow and every day as a moment to remember and to reflect on the stories we tell about who we are as people who share this land, as Canadians. Every people are good at telling stories of how great we are. And we were heroic in this moment, or there were brave leaders in other moments. It's harder to reflect on the truth. Of the mistakes, of the evil that we did in the past. But that's what this day of truth and reconciliation must be. To recognize the truth that this country in its past was responsible for terrible injustices. But that it's not just about the past. That reconciliation is understanding that legacy of the past that we were so painfully reminded of, that so many non-Indigenous Canadians discovered through the graves discovered in Kamloops and Cowessess. This shock and dismay that so many non-Indigenous Canadians felt when they heard these stories and saw these images of unmarked graves of children. And for Indigenous peoples across this country, it was a terrible blow, not because it was a surprise, because families across this country remember all too well the stories of aunties and uncles, family members taken from their homes, taken from their communities, so many of them never to return. But it was a reopening of old wounds, a hint of perhaps a hope of closure, putting names and stories to those losses. Mais en même temps, faut qu'on réfléchisse au fait que la réconciliation, c'est pas juste une affaire de regarder le passé et de comprendre les erreurs du passé, c'est de comprendre que ces erreurs nous façonnent encore aujourd'hui. Le racisme systémique qui a coûté la vie à Joyce Echequan. La misère, la pauvreté, les défis épouvantables que vivent les communautés autochtones, les personnes autochtones à travers notre pays, aujourd'hui encore, à cause d'actions prises il y a des décennies, il y a des générations. C'est ça aussi notre responsabilité en tant que pays. And to understand as well that even as we look at truth and reconciliation as not just the past, not just the present of injustice, inequality, discrimination and racism that we live still far too often in this country, every single day. It's about a choice we make for the future. And as we condemn the residential schools across the country that tried very hard to erase the Indian in the child, to take from Indigenous peoples their language, their culture, but more their families, their sense of communities. At the same time as those schools were telling Indigenous people that they had no worth, no value in their culture, every other school in this country was teaching the same thing to non-Indigenous children. That the languages, the culture, the identity of Indigenous peoples had no worth, had no value in this country. That is the legacy. That is the truth that we need to mark tomorrow and every day. So do not tell me or try to explain that the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is a day for Indigenous Canadians. It is a day for all Canadians. It is all of us. It is all of our story. Because if we do not just recognize the truth, but understand the truth and bring it into ourselves, and then bring it into every action we take every day as we live with intention, with mindfulness about what we bring and what we shape with our words, with our choices throughout our lives, then we are not understanding the lessons of the past that we must acknowledge and learn from. Les peuples autochtones dans ce pays ont énormément à nous apprendre. La patience, l'ouverture, la compréhension d'une vision plus long terme pour s'occuper de cette belle planète et nos responsabilités envers les générations futures. Mais ils nous ont aussi à apprendre sur nous-mêmes, la civilisation occidentale, qui n'a pas accepté de place pour eux sur cette terre magnifique du Canada qu'ils étaient toujours prêts à partager avec nous tous. So tomorrow, all of you here tonight, all of you reflecting on this at home, and all of you as you go about your daily lives, take a moment to listen to the stories of a survivor, to an Indigenous elder who shares their perspective and their experiences in this country. And know that that story, their story, is your story as well. And until we understand as a country that each one of us' story is all of our stories, there can be no truth. There can be no reconciliation. Alors demain, et à tous les jours, nous allons réfléchir à comment chacun d'entre nous peut contribuer à un meilleur pays et à cette vision partagée d'un monde meilleur par la vérité et la réconciliation. Merci. Thank you. Gela Kosna, Nakumik, Koyanamik, Marcy, Miigwech. Chimigwech.
Thank you for listening today, and thank you for supporting us with our sponsors. Please go to depictions.media for more information and click on our contact link and let us know how we can help bring your story and help bring us to a better world. This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.